Okay, let's just dive right in. We are all swimming in data, right? From spreadsheets at work to the headlines we read every day. But how do you actually make any sense of it? Well, in this explainer, we're going to pull back the curtain and show you the secret to turning all those raw numbers into stories that are compelling and, honestly, unforgettable.
Let's be real. For most of us, when you open up a spreadsheet, you see this, just a giant, intimidating wall of numbers. It's dense, it feels abstract, and frankly, it's pretty overwhelming.
And you know, data visualization expert Nathan Yaw absolutely hits the nail on the head here. He says, face it, data can be boring if you don't know what you're looking for. Without a purpose, it's just noise. But the good news? We can learn how to find that signal.
And here is the secret. It's actually pretty simple. Data isn't just a big bucket of numbers. It's a reflection of real life. Every single one of those data points, it's a story. It's about people, about events, about our world.
And this brings us to the most important point of all. We have to completely shift our perspective. Let's stop seeing these abstract figures and start seeing what data really is. A huge collection of stories just waiting for someone to tell them.
So, once you're on board with that idea, the next question is a big one. What kind of story are you going to tell? Because just like a movie or a book, a data story can be crafted for a whole bunch of different reasons.
For one, your story can be journalism. The goal here is all about clarity, being accurate, and giving people the context they need. It's about taking the facts and presenting them in a way that actually helps people understand what's going on.
Take a look at this classic graphic from the New York Times. It is so much more than just a line chart, right? Notice the labels, the little notes they've added, the context that's baked right into the visual. All those things work together to turn a simple plot into this powerful piece of visual journalism that really informs the reader.
But hey, a data story doesn't always have to be some dry documentary. It can be art. It can be less about getting a precise analytical insight and way more about tapping into emotion, making you think and creating something that's genuinely beautiful.
This piece, We Feel Fine, is just a perfect example. It literally scrapes phrases about feelings from blogs all across the internet and visualizes them as these floating, color-coded bubbles. It's so poetic. You can see these huge clusters of shared emotion, but then you can click on one single bubble and get a deeply personal, individual story. It's massive and intimate all at the same time.
A data story can also just be fun. I mean, sometimes the goal is pure entertainment, digging up surprising or funny truths about ourselves that are just too good not to share.
And this one is brilliant. The dating site OkCupid crunched their user data and found that, on average, people add about 2 inches to their height on their profiles. It's not some world-changing scientific discovery, but it's a hilarious, relatable little insight into human nature, isn't it?
And finally, your data story can be a powerful call to action. It can create a real sense of urgency and persuade people to make a change, either in their own lives or out in the wider world. And nobody did this better than the legendary Hans Rosling. He used these incredible animated bubble charts to show huge shifts in global health and poverty over time. But it wasn't just the chart. It was his passion, his conviction, his narration that turned the data into an unforgettable story that moved audiences to their feet.
Okay, so we know the why. Let's get into the how. Before you can tell a story, you've got to find the plot. That means exploring your data and looking for 2 key things: patterns and relationships.
And finding patterns often just depends on your perspective. On the left, daily website traffic looks totally chaotic, right? Super noisy. But when you zoom out and look at the exact same data on a monthly basis, like on the right, a smoother, much clearer long-term trend just pops out. Both views are true, they're just telling different parts of the story.
All right, so you've found your plot. Now it's time to actually design the narrative. This is all about making sure your audience can follow along. So let's look at 4 essential rules to guide your reader.
This really just comes down to 4 fundamentals: explaining how you're visualizing the data, labeling your axes, please label your axes, getting the geometry right, and always including your sources. Let's break them down.
First up, explain your encodings. Now that's just a fancy way of saying, tell people what your colors, shapes, and sizes mean. Because if your reader can't decode it, the graphic is useless. On the left, that colored map is a total mystery, but you add the legend on the right, and suddenly the story becomes crystal clear.
Rule 2 is just as critical: label your axes. Without labels, this is just an abstract line going up. It could mean anything. It tells us absolutely nothing.
Or does it?
As these hilarious results from a caption contest show,
A simple change in labels tells a completely different story every single time. The relationship between proximity to your mom and sexual arousal is quite a bit different from monkey sees and monkey does. Labels provide the entire context. They are everything.
Third, you have to keep your geometry in check. This is a super common mistake people make. When you use a 2D shape like a circle to represent a value, you have to scale it by its area, not its radius or diameter. Sizing by diameter, as you see on the right, massively distorts the visual comparison and just misleads your audience.
And finally, the fourth rule: always include your sources. This is absolutely non-negotiable. It builds your credibility, it proves your data is real, it allows other people to fact-check your work, and it provides vital context for understanding the information you're presenting.
So the key takeaway here is pretty simple. Data is everywhere. It's in our spreadsheets, and it's woven into our daily lives. The only real question left is, what story will you choose to tell with it?